Right at Home is a home health care provider. We provide personal care, we provide companion care. You will find some franchises that provide skilled care. Currently we don't do skilled care. We have enough of a market in the personal and companion care. But our role is to place caregivers in homes for those who need assistance. Maybe it's bathing, toileting, transferring in and out of bed. Maybe it's just light housekeeping or someone keeping company, playing some games or spending some time with someone. Occasionally we'll do some transportation to and from doctor's offices. But that's the basic premise of taking care of someone. We looked out and we looked at where we thought this economy was going. When we first started talking about this, it was probably 2006, so this was before 2008, this was before everything got rough. And we looked at what were some of the things that we knew were going to have an impact, and long-term health care is a big issue. We also knew that most people want to stay home as long as we can. We had some personal experience in our family with several different family members and trying to get them in and out of nursing homes or assisted living, trying to provide care for them. We watched our parents have to make some choices, and they were tough choices. And we thought, you know, more and more people are going to have the same need, these same desires. Their children are going to have the same issues that our families are going through. So why not be a part of that solution? And then as we dug further, we figured out, wow, this really isn't that hard of a business to start, and there's not an overwhelming amount of things that we had to figure out to get into it. We did a lot of research. We spent many hours on the internet. We made a lot of phone calls. We talked to a lot of franchisors, and we kind of made a short list separately, and then we compared. And where we got down to was the 3 companies that we had each selected independent of each other. We then did further due diligence with those. We reached out to their franchise owners. We talked with people in their marketing departments. We talked with, you know, some of the VPs in the company, gathered as much information as we could. And then we had it down to 2. And then we did the last pieces of research were the fly-ins to visit with the actual companies. And really just kind of gathering that information every day. It took us several months to make our final decisions. One of the things that we found in our processes, we found companies that were there to support franchisees, and then there were companies that supported franchisees, but they also did the same thing we were trying to do. And neither my husband nor I wanted to be in a position where we were a franchisee in a system with corporate run offices, because then we were competing. Even though we may have territories or we would have defined areas, they had 2 different things that they had to accomplish from up above. So the most important thing to us when we chose Right at Home was they're in the business of franchising their home health care model. They don't run any corporate home health businesses. They're 100% to support us. You know, the best one is word of mouth. And then that's really all it comes down to. There's no better way to do it. So we spend a lot of time out in the community. Today my husband's working at the Rib Burnoff down in one of our cities, and it's because there's a heavy senior population down there. He's very active with the Office of Older Adults down there. They know his face, they know his name. And so he'll be out, whatever he's doing to support them today, but he'll get to interact with a lot of people. So we get a lot of referrals. That's our primary means. We're on the boards and on committees for Office of Older Adults in various communities within our territory. We try to do a lot of volunteer work, and so that the people who may not need the care right now, but the people who others are going to and saying, do you know someone, are in the position to say, I do know someone, here's their information. We don't do any formal advertising outside of like the yellow pages or maybe an occasional, you know, local newspaper, but we don't do any billboards or any radio spots or anything like that. Yes and no. It was easier in the fact that we did have a small client base when we started. So some of those initial, probably the 2 to 3 months initial that a brand new franchisee would go through where they have nothing. So you open your shop and here you are, you have no one to talk to, no one that works for you. We didn't have that. We had several employees and we had a couple small jobs. We have more than 4 times what we started with, and we're about 9 months into this project. So we were able to ramp up I don't know if our ramp up time was faster or slower than what someone new would have done, because we still needed to build the business. But some of what we did have was some transition issues. We had employees that worked for a couple for 5.5 years, and then here we are, Amie and Adam. We're younger, we have bigger ideas, we have bigger opinions, and we fortunately were able to retain everybody. But there were some bumps in the road where people just had to get used to talking to us versus the previous owners. Probably the most frustrating thing for us was working with the banks. We had a significant amount of money to put down. We had good credit scores, and they were still so picky. That was surprising to us, and we ended up getting to where we wanted to be, but it took probably 30 days longer than we expected. And that kind of slowed us up when we were initially transitioning. But other than that, everything really has worked out. We found a great staffing coordinator right away. She had relocated to the area. We had interviewed a ton of people. We didn't have the right fit. And then when Monday morning we walked in and a resume was tucked in the door, we called her, talked to her, and was like, here she is. And she's still with us. So we haven't had to have a transition with her, which a lot of people experience with their staffing coordinators originally. We've retained all of our caregivers. So we haven't hit too many big bumps, and we've been able to grow the business. But we work hard at it, and we continue to do the right things every day. The previous owners told us numerous times, you don't walk away from this business. The phone rings all the time. And we knew that going in, so it doesn't bother us. When the phone rang last night twice while we were eating dinner, we knew it was something that we had to take care of. So Adam walked away, he took the calls, he handled it. 40 minutes later, we moved on. Sometimes it's a 3-minute conversation. Sometimes they don't call at all. But that's a part of the territory. We choose not to use an answering service. So the phone's forward either to us or to Pam. We rotate weekends and nights. But that's important to us to have that level of contact, so that when someone is calling, particularly when they're calling to find out about our services, they can get the information they need on demand when they want it, not on our time. I would say you have to do your research. There's probably a lot of places within that time frame of your researching. People can talk a good game. People can interview well. People can present themselves in a good manner. You have to prove that, and you have to test that. And you have to have multiple conversations to really figure out if they're genuine in what they're saying. And you need to try and think about the things that are going to make you look back and go, oh, if I only knew. So if you can lay out a list ahead of time, I call it bringing the future to the present. If I sit down and make a list of where do I want to be 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, whatever that time frame is, and then I make the list of what would disappoint me if I was there, and then I back into that, then I know to ask those questions up front. And if you take a little bit extra time and you think about these things, and you need to talk to other franchise owners in the system, with that, you have to take the good and the bad, because you will have some people that are maybe disenchanted with their franchise system, and they're starting to exit, and that's okay. Maybe it wasn't working for them, but that doesn't mean it won't work for you. You just have to understand why it wasn't working for them and how you might do something differently. Thank you, Small Bizeo.